Hey everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. In this video, I'm going to be making over this three-piece set. I have some really cool plans for this set and I think it's going to just upscale it a lot. So stick around for the entire makeover. Let's get into it. So I got this three-piece set on Facebook Marketplace really not too long ago. It was just in the front of my stash and I've kind of been motivated to do a larger set since I did a couple of smaller pieces. I'm ready to dive back into some bigger sets and hopefully continue to get that profit up and raised. So $200 on Facebook Marketplace is not too bad. This is a Broyhill set. There's three pieces and nightstands, typically do pretty well. I'm hoping that after the makeover, this set will go really well in my market. First things first, I am going to remove all of the existing hardware and set it aside for donation later on. The ladies that I got it from were cousins and they had just, they were moving, I think. And so this was kind of just stored in their garage, but they've taken really good care of it. And it is not dirty or messy at all, really. Just a little bit of dust. So I'm gonna go in with my Lily Moon Furniture Prep Cleaner and spray everything down, give it a nice wipe down before entering into the prep stage. So I've just got some lint-free paper towels and I'm gonna spray it onto the surface and kind of scrub it off and then we'll have a clean surface. Really not too dirty at all from just the top of that one. So this will just be nice to just start fresh though and get a good rinse in. Okay, I got all of these cleaned and all the drawers removed. I also cleaned the insides as well. So all the drawers are stacked over there, but I am gonna start on the tops and I am gonna be sanding the tops to raw wood. I'm gonna be using my Surf Prep 5-inch orbital sander. Typically, you will see me using my 3/4 or 3x4 Surf Prep sander. But this one really does a great job at stripping off stain. And so I'm gonna use this on the tops, especially because they're flat surfaces. This is going to cover a bit more surface than the 3x4 does. And I am gonna be using the white ceramic based sandpaper in an 80 grit. And this is going to bust through the tops super quick. And I only would recommend using this if you have solid wood. I'm pretty sure that the tops are solid wood, the drawer fronts are not, so I'm gonna have to be a little bit more careful. If you're using an 80 grit, you just wanna be super careful if you have veneer. I would almost stay away from that because it's so rough. Anything lower than 120 to maybe 100 would be you would want to be super careful with it if you are working with veneer. But since this is solid wood, we're gonna go for it on the 80 grit. I kind of want to see how long it takes me to sand off the tops completely. And I will link the Surf Prep system all down below, and you can use my code FFT10 for 10% off of your entire purchase. I've also got my POV8 vacuum extractor over here, and so that's what this is connected to, so it really helps eliminate a lot of the dust in the air. There's maybe like 1% dust that doesn't get sucked up, so it is so good, especially if you're like indoors like me. This is great for that, to help keep your lungs safe. I got all of the tops sanded down nice and smooth, and the tops are looking really, really good. I think I was wrong. It is a veneer, but it was a thicker veneer, and so I didn't bust through anywhere, and I'm super happy about that because I'll be able to keep the tops solid wood or like a wood look, and I'll stain those later, but I am going to go ahead and scuff sand the surfaces of these bodies. And one thing about these nightstands that's not so typical with nightstands that I at least come across is that the back is finished. Usually the back has like a back panel on it where it like doesn't need to be finished. And so I just leave it like it is because typically these types of pieces of furniture go against a wall. I get a lot of questions on like, why don't you finish the back of it? But like the furniture isn't finished on the back regardless to start with. So why would I like paint over that backer board? It would be kind of weird. So I'll show you. These are actually finished, so I will be finishing them just like I am the rest of the piece. The big one has a backer board. It's not finished on the back, so that'll be more like a normal piece of furniture, but I just wanted to kind of explain that and let you know that I will be finishing the back, so that's kind of the difference between these and typical nightstands that I usually flip. Everything is scuff sanded and all the dust is wiped back. You may have noticed that I went a little bit overboard on scuff sanding, especially on the legs of these pieces. There were a lot of like dents and dings that aren't necessarily visible with the finish on them still, but when I started to sand back, you could just kind of tell that they were like a little bit indented, and I didn't want that to show through later on when I am painting. So rather than fill all of that in, all the legs were solid wood, so I just went ahead and like sanded them back, sanded them smooth so that there's no more dents in those areas. So there's gonna be like a lot more spots that have bare wood versus the stained wood, because when you're scuff sanding, you don't necessarily need to go all the way down to the raw wood unless you have a circumstance like this. I'm gonna be staining the tops, so that's obviously why I went to raw wood on the tops. But the rest of it, everything is all ready to go. I need to now prep for primer. And what I think I am gonna do is wrap all of the drawers up in plastic, because that is just the easiest, best way for me personally, other than inserting the drawers. I might do that too though, because this set could probably benefit from that since it doesn't sit out. It's inside mounted drawers set. So I don't know, I always contemplate back and forth. I don't think that either one is right or wrong. I just think that I need to choose and do it. I think I may go ahead and just insert all of the drawers and then still tape off the tops, but then I'll be able to prime everything all at once, and then I'll just hit the edges of the drawers with my zebra brushes. So on 2 of the drawers, the bottom little drawer slide thingy that you like, that goes onto the drawer slide and makes it not rock back and forth and just keeps it all connected and put together. 2 of the drawers have broken ones, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace them. I had some of these on hand from a previous project when I ordered some. They're not the exact same, but I just tested the ones that I have and they work fine with the slides. So although I do have the drawers pushed in, and I'll push them all the way in when I am spraying, sometimes there can be just a little bit of spray that gets through the cracks. So what I always like to do is still tape off the edges of the drawers here, and then also a little bit on the inside, just to try to help mitigate any overspray. It doesn't typically go super far back, but it's just a precaution that I like to take. So just gonna do that on all the drawers, on all the pieces really fast. It is a little trickier on the curved drawers, because if I do this all the way across, then it's gonna help a little bit, but there's still gonna be a pretty big gap between my tape and the actual like drawer front. So there's potential for a lot of paint spray over right there. So just kind of gotta maneuver the tape that you put in and kind of connect it all. It's time to prime. I've got my sprayer that has my bin advanced in the gray, and I do need to fill it up a bit. There's only a small amount left. I should probably clean this sprayer out after this project. It's getting a little dried up, so I like to leave it in there for just a few projects. That helps mitigate the amount of times that I have to clean my sprayer head out, but it's not ideal for everyone. I luckily have multiple sprayer heads, so I'm able to do that where I have one for primer, one for top coat, and then I have like multiple more for like paint and stuff. So it's been covered up majorly, but this is the Bin Advanced Primer, and I like to have Menards tint it to the gray color just for a little bit better coverage, especially going from like light to dark. Instead of doing white, I like gray. And then also this is just like the Bin Shellac base, except it's water-based. So it's gonna do all the same things except for it's water-based. So just keep that in mind when you're using this, but this has been my go-to primer since I discovered it probably like a year ago or so. So if you haven't tried it yet, highly recommend. I'm gonna need to get another gallon here pretty soon, not super soon, but this has lasted me quite some time now. Now that I'm down a little bit, it's not so scary to pour into my strainer, because when it's a huge full gallon, a big mess is coming at you no matter what, at least for me. So once this strains in there, I'll go ahead and get the first coat of primer on of all of my pieces. I've got them all laid out on my roller carts, so I'll just be able to roll it in, prime it, and roll it out, and then I'll get the 2 nightstands done, as well as the long/tall dresser, because it's kind of long and tall. So there are several areas after priming that have popped out that I can see just need to be filled in with some Bondo, or this Bondo glazing spot putty. This is really good for just superficial marks and small cracks and things like this, or filling wood grain. This is perfect for that, and it doesn't need a second part. You just apply this, let it dry, and then you can sand it back like normal. So as you can see, this has gone a bit overboard, which typically happens when filling in, because once you see one little crack, then it makes you want to do all the little cracks. So we are going to now use my sander and sand everything smooth. There was a lot of wood grain showing through, so I just wanted to tackle it all. Well, looks like I have made a mistake by putting all of this on. The spot putty was intended to fill all of the wood grain through the primer, But I don't know if it's because I put too much on or if it's a reaction between the Bin Advanced Primer, which is water-based, and then the Glazing Bondo Spot Putty, which is like more of an oil-based product. But everything is basically, it has become worse. So when the spot putty is drying, it's cracking. And so even when I'm sanding it smooth, there's still cracks. It's like taking up the primer with it. So now I'm having to actually sand all the way through the primer, basically stripping it. I just made a huge, like, worse problem for myself than I had going with just the wood grain. I was just trying to fill the wood grain, and then this happened. And the worst thing is I also filled the nightstand drawers with it. Yeah, really great. I'm gonna be here stripping this for who knows how long. Learn from my mistakes. You can use spot putty with Bin Advanced, but maybe just not this big of an amount. Maybe don't use it for filling wood grain. Dang. I got a lot of stripping ahead of me. All right, I am basically back to kind of like square one when it comes to primer, since I had to strip everything off. I don't know if a lot of the wood grain got filled or not. I mean, I can tell that some of it did, so we'll see if that process did anything to help me out, but we're gonna need to get a coat of primer back on this and the nightstands as well. The sides I was luckily able to keep pretty much all primed, but I just, like I said, I think I just really over applied that Bondo Spot and Glazing Putty, and you probably won't see me using it very much anymore, if at all. It just frustrated me too much. Not saying it's a bad product, but you just gotta be careful with how you use it, I guess. So we're gonna get a coat of primer on here, let it dry, and then see what we're working with as far as like nicks and dings or wood grain going through what it looks like. It is time for one of my favorite parts of flipping furniture. I am gonna be mixing up some colors. A lot of comments when I was packing up paint from the old shop were telling me, since I have all these paint colors that maybe I'm not gonna use, I could mix them. And of course, I should have thought of that myself. We are gonna be mixing to get like an olive green color. So I am gonna be mixing Midnight Green from Dixie Belle, Mojave from Dixie Belle, and a little bit of Umber from Dixie Belle. All three of these colors are hopefully going to mix perfectly and we'll end up with an olive green color. I have been using the Color Lab on Dixie Belle's website, and it's a really neat feature if you haven't checked it out yet, but it helps you like choose a color. You can either upload a color that you want to match, and it'll tell you the recipe, whether you're using the chalk paint, the silk paint, or the Terra clay paint, or you can just go in there and start to mix and match with like colors maybe that you have on hand but not full jars of, that won't cover a whole project, things like that. Pretty cool. I'll link it down below in the description. So my recipe for this color is going to be 2 parts Mojave and Midnight Green and 1 part Umber, which is perfect because this only has about half a can in it anyway. I've got a pretty large container here that I'm hoping will like hold all of the paint that I want to mix. Okay, so I am going to go full send on the Midnight Green and the Mojave because those are going to be like my 2 parts. Basically half of a can I'm saying is 1 part, and plus this is all I have. So I always kind of like to make a little extra when I'm mixing colors because it's pretty hard to match the exact color. I'm just hoping that this is really gonna turn out well. So full can of Midnight Green in there. Try to get all of it, as much as I can, out of there. Full can of the Mojave. And then I'm gonna start mixing that up first to see what we're working with. Right now it's pretty yellow. Hoping that green will start to shine through. It's also still pretty bright, which is why I wanted to add the umber, because I'm hoping that that will kind of give it that brown tone that we need. Okay, so this is what we're working with. Pretty bright green, if you ask me. So now we need to add in the umber to kind of tone things down a bit. And that is 1 part umber because there's only half of the can. Hoping this is where the kind of olivey, foresty coloring will start to shine through. This is looking much better, much more of an olivey color. I do just want to make sure that I get it all scraped off the sides as much as I can see. This is what we're working with now, which is way more on point with where I want it to be. Probably could have even added more umber, but I just don't have more umber. We're gonna go ahead and do a little test sample swatch, make sure that I like it when it dries, so that way I don't hate it when I put the first coat on. My sample is all dry, and this is the color that it came out with, which I really like. I was hoping maybe it would be a bit darker, but all in all, I'm liking it better dry than I was in the actual can. So pro tip, always, always, always do a swatch when you're mixing colors, or really whenever, because you need to make sure that you like it when it's all dry, because it does darken up quite a bit after it's not wet anymore. I'm gonna be using my Earl-X 5700 sprayer today. So it comes like this. It's a metal sprayer. It's a little bit pricier than like the Wagner Flexio 5000, but if you're looking for a little bit of an upgraded sprayer, this is like the next step up in that same, like it works the same, but it has a finer spray pattern. So it gives a really, really flawless finish. I've used it twice now, and I really do like it. I can still see myself using the Wagner Flexio 5000 for projects, especially primer and top coats. But with paint colors, I think that this would be a really good option for really fine finishes. So same thing, I got my strainer in here, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this in. First coat of paint is all dry, and I am gonna just take a quick sanding sponge and go over the surface a little bit just to knock back any texture, because I want a really smooth finish, and then we'll get going on coat number 2. Okay, got everything sanded nice and smooth, so I am ready for coat number 2 here. I got all the spraying done for everything, so now I need to address the insides of the drawers that did not get paint on them. So like the edges right here and then on the sides. What I like to do if I decide not to wrap the drawers and spray them separately is just get a small artist brush. I really, really like the Zebra artist brushes. They actually are a newer product, but they come in a like 5-pack, I think. They have different sizes of them as well. Like there's large artist brushes, medium, and then these are the small. These are perfect for like small details. And then I just dip it in the paint, and then I will go ahead and like paint the edges. Usually it'll need a couple of coats for full coverage. So I'll just do one coat over all the drawers, and then I'll go back and do the second coat. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I have some leftover paint in here that didn't get used with the sprayer. It's time to take off the tape and plastic of the tops so that I can go ahead and stain them. I'm really excited to stain them just because that is gonna really show us what this final look is going to be. I have my Lily Moon Smoky Gel Stain that I'm gonna be using on the top of these nightstands and the dresser, and the color is Tennessee Whiskey. I've been out of stock of this for quite some time, so I haven't been able to use it, but I finally ordered some. Use my code FFT10 and you can also get 10% off of any Lily Moon products. I really love this water-based stain because it's just really easy to apply. You can layer it. Technically, it has a top coat built in, so for like lower traffic areas, you don't even have to top coat it. But what I like to do is spray my surface with my mister bottle. It just has water in it, and this just kind of allows the stain to evenly get applied, and that is important because you don't want blotchy stain application. And then I've got a little blue sponge here, which I also like to kind of just mist a little bit. And then I'll apply my stain to the top like so, and then I'll just spread it around nice and even. And then I'll make sure that my last strokes are side to side with the wood grain. So if they're not all side to side all the way the entire time, that's okay. Like I can go this way, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure that they are going in the same direction as the wood grain, just in case any of them stick out. If any of them like don't get all the way rubbed into that wood grain, then at least it won't look funky, because you should be able to see it a lot less because of the direction that it's kind of going. I'm gonna make sure and get the sides as well. I chose Tennessee Whiskey because it does have kind of a reddish undertone, and I thought that that would be really complimentary of the green color down below, and it would contrast really nicely. I may do a second coat because it's not looking super dark, but we'll see how it kind of looks once it's dry. All right, one done. And now onto that one. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to potentially do a second coat, and I just mentioned how I chose Tennessee Whiskey for this reason, is because of the contrast of the green, and it just kind of is looking a little bit too orangey reddish for me. So I'm gonna do a second coat in the color Old Fashioned, and I'm gonna hope that this is going to just tone down that redness a bit, but still be dark enough. So I'm going to basically apply this the same way, except I don't think I'm gonna put, well, maybe I'll put a little bit of mist on there. This is all dry now. You want to make sure that you let your first coat dry before you go applying a second coat. I think this Old Fashioned kind of has a little tint of green in it. So that's why I'm thinking that this will help tone it down just a bit and darken it up a bit, but we'll still be able to see that wood grain really well. Yeah, it's definitely toning it down a lot. Okay, so I'll let that dry again, and then I'll do the second coat on this one. I may even do a third coat, but do the same with the Old Fashioned because I still feel like I want it to be a bit darker. So maybe I'll even do a darker color, who knows? But it's looking a lot better. Okay, I'm ready to top coat these. I'm gonna be using my latest favorite top coat, which is this Varathane Ultimate Polyurethane. It's water-based and it is in the satin sheen. So this is really good to give a protection coat over the entire piece of furniture. Although the paint and the top coat have it built in, I just have been really liking the look of a satin finish. This right now is pretty matte. That's kind of how this specific silk paint dries, as well as the tops, the stain. So I want to have a little sheen plus a little extra protection. So that's why I've been putting on satin finishes on the majority of my furniture lately, because that's the look that I'm really liking, and then I know that it's protected really well as well. And just like that, I am all finished with this 3-piece set. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. This is probably one of my favorite sets in a while, at least. I really love the way that it turned out. I absolutely love the color that ended up being on these pieces. I was definitely going for a little bit of a more olive tone and a deeper, darker green, but I went with it after I mixed up the contents that the Color Lab told me to mix up, and I was really pleased. I think it was one of those things where you just had to like get to the end of the project, and once I put the stain on the tops and added the hardware, I think it ended up being really chef's kiss. So let's talk about the numbers of this set. This set was a little bit on the higher side, but not too much, especially for what I think I am gonna be able to get off Facebook Marketplace. So I paid $200 for it on Facebook Marketplace. And then paint cost me about $60 because I mixed so much paint. I mean, it would have still cost me that much because I needed quite a bit of paint since the backs on the nightstands needed to be painted and it was a larger 3-piece set. And the primer cost $10, top coat $10, miscellaneous costs like the Bondo that I used, the sandpaper, the different tapes and stuff like that, stain about $10 worth-ish, probably less really. And then all of the hardware was a little bit on the higher side. To get really nice high-end hardware, sometimes you have to pay up for it, but this is super high quality. So I ended up paying $100 for all 22 knobs, which again, not too bad for what I got. And it was on sale. So $400 total on this entire set behind me, and I'll probably list this set. I may start it at $1,400, see if we can just go ahead and get $1,000 straight profit, but if not, I would be willing to lower it down to like $1,250 or so, and then we'll see. I actually just recently sold a 3-piece set that I had been holding on to since December. So that was listed at probably like $1,500 to start with, and then I did lower it to $1,250, and I ended up bringing it over here to the new shop. But then a couple of weekends ago, someone was interested that had been interested for quite a while. But anyway, long story short, we settled at $1,000, so they came and picked it up. So I know that 3-piece sets may not be quite as desirable. That was an all blue set. I'll pop a picture up here. But this one's all green, but it does have those wood tops. So maybe that's a little bit different. And plus green, maybe it's more in style than blue. We shall see. I will keep you guys updated, whether it be at the end of this video or in a future video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out that Dixie Belle Color Lab. This is not sponsored, but I think it's a really neat tool that even maybe if you're not using Dixie Belle colors, I mean, although it's very tailored toward Dixie Belle colors, it could help you potentially mix other colors that you have as well. So thanks so much for watching. Check out all of the tools and links down below in the description, along with all of my codes that can help save you money. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.